Hi guys, today I'm going to give you just a little bit of background of the time period leading up to the French Revolution in France. The French Revolution is very complicated. It's bloody, it's violent, a lot of changes occur as a result of the revolution, but even within the course of the revolution. And so there's a ton of information. Today I'm just going to talk about what was happening in France leading up to the revolution that sets the stage. The revolution begins in 1789, which is right around the same time a lot of revolutions are happening in a lot of other parts of the world. The American Revolution is in full swing, and the Haitian Revolution and other parts of the world that are also experiencing this change. But again, the French Revolution is a little different, very complicated, very violent. And not only are they trying to obtain political changes in how their government is run, but also they try to change the social structure of France. So in that way, it's a little bit different than what we see happening in some other parts of the world where revolutionary activity is really focusing on political change. But the French Revolution, again, much more complicated. So in the time leading up to the revolution, French society had been broken up into 3 estates, and these estates had existed for a long, long time. And these are recognized groups within society, and you can't move estates. You are sort of stuck in your estate for the most part, with very little exception. So the first estate is made up, they're called the First Estate. The First Estate is made up of the clergy. So the clergy are the church officials. France is very much Catholic. The church plays a very important role in people's lives, and the members of the clergy make up the First Estate. The First Estate, the clergy, is made up of about 130,000 people. So that seems like kind of a big number, but really we're talking the whole population of France. It's a very small group. And this First Estate, the 130 approximate members of the clergy, the members of the church officials, own about 10% of the land. So really a lot, considering that there's such a small portion of the population. The Second Estate in France is made up of the nobility. So the nobility are those who are born into a title. They might have some military role. They may have a role in the government, but they make up the Second Estate. And there's about 350,000 of them. So still combined, the First and Second Estate is less than the population of most major cities today. So relatively, again, small group of people in France. So the Second Estate is the nobility, and they own anywhere between 25 to 30% of the land. So again, a pretty big chunk based on their population. Between the First and the Second Estate, about 500,000 people, they own about 40% of the land. The really important thing to note about the First and the Second Estate in France at this time is both the First Estate and the Second Estate are exempt from paying the taille, which is the tax of France. The First Estate and the Second Estate do not have to pay taxes. And that's really a basis for what's going to lead to some social unrest, along with a lot of other factors. The estate that we have left, the Third Estate, is everybody else. So again, a humongous group, anybody who is not nobility and who is not a member of the clergy. So the Third Estate has everybody from wealthy business owners and businessmen, doctors, lawyers, down to very, very poor farmers, very, very poor peasants. And so it's a huge group, a very diverse group of everybody left. And the third estate is the one that has to pay the taxes. So they pay taxes to the government of France, where the first and the second estate do not. So within the third estate, again, there's a huge variety of people. And so within that range of the third estate, we have class differentiation within the third estate. And what we see develop is this middle class. Now, a middle class is kind of a new thing and is really going to pick up with industrialization, which we'll talk about later. But this middle class is an important part of the revolution because they are the ones that tend to have the ability to financially support themselves despite revolutionary activity. They are the ones that have access to information. Probably not education for a lot of them, maybe some of the wealthier people, but they have, to a daily education like we're used to today, but they have access to books. They're able to have discussions. They may be influenced by ideas from interacting with travelers or having the opportunity to travel. And so this middle class is really important in bringing in the ideas that are so important at this time. And these ideas are those coming out of the Age of Enlightenment. So these middle class thinkers and upper class people within the third estate are very, very frustrated. They become very frustrated with, again, just the inequity of the tax system that has been in place in France for so long. They also become frustrated with the fact that they kind of feel stuck. Those really wealthy, well-to-do people in the third estate can never, ever quite move up to achieve what the first or the second estate have. And they resent that. They don't like that. In addition, they feel like they, So the Enlightenment had brought about a new way of thinking, challenging things that people maybe thought they already knew. Not only science and medicine, but also how the government is run and how social systems exist. And so not only are they feeling resentment towards these other groups, but they're questioning whether or not the monarchy is really the best choice for France. France at this time has an absolute monarch and has for quite a while, believed to have been given power by the grace of God. And this particular king and queen at this time in France are very disconnected from their people. They're very much unaware of what is happening in France, not only some of the changes that are happening within their people, right? But the turmoil and the angst that is developing and the resentment that is developing. And so they're very disconnected, and the people of France become very upset with that. So that upper middle class, we call them the bourgeoisie, are really an important group within the revolutionary movement. The lower classes within the third estate are also important. They also resent that they have to pay the taxes. They often, in addition to having to pay taxes, have to pay for the use of a lot of community assets like the flour mill or other tools that might be needed in order for them to live, to survive on a day-to-day basis. They have to pay for in addition to their taille, to their tax that they're paying to the state. And so those people also become very influential. In fact, as we talk more about the events of the revolution, some of the biggest impact is made by the peasant groups and the lower class groups. So really all of the third estate plays an important role in moving forward with the revolutionary activity. So in France, again, leading up to this time, there's a lot of unrest, a lot of dissatisfaction with the way things are being run. And next time we'll talk about some specific events that, that serve as the catalyst for revolution in France. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.